Have you ever looked at an old penny and thought, it's just 1 cent, how valuable could it really be? Well, what if I told you that one of those small copper coins, a simple 1955 Lincoln wheat penny, could be worth as much as a brand new luxury car, or even more? That's right, a coin most people would overlook or toss into a jar could secretly be worth up to $125,000. Hard to believe, isn't it? But the story behind this penny is one of the most fascinating in USA coin history. Before we dive deep, let me ask you, where are you watching from? I love seeing people from all over the world in the comments. And tell me, have you ever come across an old wheat penny in your change or maybe in a family coin jar? Because if you have, you might want to take another look after hearing this. The 1955 Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most famous coins in American history, not just because of its age, but because of an incredible minting error that turned it into a legend among collectors. To understand how this all happened, let's rewind a little and talk about the design. The Lincoln wheat penny, also known as the Lincoln cent, was introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin was revolutionary. It was the first USA coin to feature the portrait of a real person. On the obverse, we see the familiar image of President Lincoln facing right, with the word liberty to his left and the year of minting to his right. Above him are the words "In God We Trust," a motto that has appeared on USA coins for over a century. On the reverse, the design is simple yet elegant, two wheat stalks arching along the sides, surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the Latin motto E pluribus unum across the top. That's why it's often called the wheat penny. Now, back to the year 1955. The USA Mint was busy keeping up with post-war economic growth. The Philadelphia Mint, in particular, was producing millions of coins to meet the country's booming demand. But during one of those long production nights, something unusual happened, something that would make history. A die misalignment occurred. Normally, each coin die, the metal stamp that impresses the design, must perfectly match the other side. But in this case, one of the dies had been slightly offset and then impressed again without being properly aligned. The result? A striking double image on the front of the coin. Every letter, every number, every detail on the obverse side appeared doubled. You can clearly see it on the date 1955 and the words Liberty and In God We Trust. This was no small mistake, it was one of the most dramatic minting errors ever seen on a USA coin. At first, the mint didn't even notice the problem. The flood dice kept striking coins for a short while, producing roughly 20,000 to 24,000 double die pennies before being replaced. The coins were mixed into bags with millions of normal pennies and sent out into circulation. By the time the error was discovered, it was too late. These rare coins were already out in the world, hidden among ordinary cents, and that's when the story really gets interesting. In the late 1950s, people started noticing these strange pennies popping up in pocket change and cash registers. Imagine being one of those lucky few who stumbled upon one and thought, wait a second, why does this look doubled? News spread quickly among collectors, and the 1955 double die Lincoln cent became an overnight sensation. It was the first time many Americans realized that a small minting mistake could turn an ordinary coin into something extraordinarily valuable. And here's the cool part, because so many of these coins entered normal circulation, it's one of the few high-value error coins that people can still realistically find today. It's rare, yes, but not impossible. So the next time you get a handful of change from the store, take a good look at those pennies. Who knows what might be hiding in there? Now, let's talk about how to spot a genuine 1955 double die penny. Look closely at the front of the coin. The doubling is most visible on the date and the inscriptions. The word Liberty on the left side should show clear, strong doubling. The motto In God We Trust will appear as if it's shadowed or even blurry because of the overlapping impressions. And the date 1955 will have bold, doubled numbers. The reverse side, interestingly enough, looks completely normal, no doubling at all, since the error only affected one die. Counterfeits do exist, so collectors always check details carefully. The genuine 1955 double die has sharp, clean doubling that can be seen with the naked eye, while fakes often have fuzzy or uneven distortions. The easiest way to confirm authenticity is to have it checked by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Now, think about how incredible this is. A small mistake during a single Nix production created one of the most famous coins in the world. Collectors have spent decades hunting for these pennies. Some were discovered in old coffee cans, others in change jars, and a few in dusty coin albums that families had forgotten about. If you think about it, any one of those could be ended up in your pocket. So, tell me in the comments, have you ever checked your old change drawer or coin box? Maybe you already have one of these without even realizing it. Beyond its error, the 1955 Lincoln Wheat penny holds sentimental value too. It represents the end of an era. Just a few years later, in 1959, the USA Mint retired the wheat design and replaced it with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, marking the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. That makes the 1955 issue one of the last true wheat pennies, adding even more nostalgia and desirability for collectors. Over the years, prices for these coins have skyrocketed. Back in the 1960s, collectors could buy one for just a few dollars. But as time went on and fewer examples remained in good condition, their value grew dramatically. Today, if you're lucky enough to find one in uncirculated or high-grade condition, it could be worth tens of thousands, or even more, and that brings us to the moment everyone's been waiting for, the true value. While circulated examples might sell for hundreds or thousands depending on where, the rarest and best-preserved 1955 Lincoln Wheat pennies, graded in near-perfect condition with that bold, unmistakable doubling, have been known to fetch prices reaching up to $125,000. Yes, a single penny, just 1 cent, can be worth more than a year's salary. It's one of those amazing stories that reminds us how history, rarity, and a touch of luck can turn the smallest objects into priceless treasures. So, the next time you see a dusty old penny lying around, don't ignore it. Grab a magnifying glass, take a close look, and check that date. 1955 might just change your life. And before you click away, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and have you ever found an old wheat penny? Maybe you're holding on to something far more valuable than you think, because in the world of coin collecting, it's not just about money, it's about history, stories, and surprises. And who knows? That little coin sitting in your drawer could be the key to an incredible discovery. Now, let's go back to the beginning. The Lincoln Wheat penny, officially called the Lincoln cent, was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centésima birthday of Abraham Lincoln, one of America's most beloved presidents. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin was groundbreaking for its time. It was the first USA coin to feature a real historical figure instead of a symbolic image. The obverse, or front, shows Lincoln's side profile, facing right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" across the top, Liberty to his left, and the date 1953 to his right. And just below the date, you see a small date marking the Denver Mint where this coin was struck. The reverse side displays 2 wheat stalks curving along the edges, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Across the top is the classic Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. This design, which appeared on all Lincoln cents from 1909 to 1958, gives the coin its popular nickname, the Wheat Penny. Now, the 1953 AD. 1953 AD Wheat Penny was minted in Denver, Colorado, where millions of coins were produced that year. In total, more than 700 million of these pennies rolled out of the Denver Mint. That might sound like a lot, and it is, but not all of them are created equal. So many of them, due to rare minting errors, quality, and preservation, have become incredibly valuable to collectors today. During the 1950s, the minting process was heavily mechanical, relying on large presses and hardened steel dies to strike designs into coin blanks called planchets. But sometimes, those dies wore down, got misaligned, or were improperly polished. That's when errors happened, and those errors are exactly what can turn an ordinary penny into a small fortune. For the 1953 AD Lincoln Wheat penny, collectors look for several key varieties that make certain coins rare and highly valuable. One of the most well-known is the repunched mint mark, often called RPM. Because mint marks were added to dies manually back then, sometimes the letter D for Denver was punched more than once in slightly different positions. On some 1953 AD pennies, you can see the faint shadow of a second D just below or beside the first one. This double-punched look may seem like a small detail, but to coin collectors, it's a big deal. It can make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition. Another rare variety is the double die error, where part of the design, like the date, lettering, or Lincoln's features, appears double due to misalignment between the die impressions. When this happens, the details on the coin have a slightly shadowed or duplicated look, which makes them extremely collectible. Combine one of those rare errors with a near-perfect mint state, and you got yourself a coin worth far more than 1 cent. It's fascinating to think that these errors weren't intentional at all. They were just the result of human hands and machinery working at incredible speed. But that's what gives these coins their character. Every flaw tells a story of how it was made, and collectors love that. Now, beyond the error varieties, condition plays a huge role in a coin's value. Most 1953 AD pennies you find today will be worn from circulation, the details of Lincoln's hair might be faded, the wheat stalks flattened, and the color darkened from years of handling. But in uncirculated condition, these coins can be stunning. The original reddish copper shine, called red in coin grading terms, can make all the difference. A 1953 AD penny with full red luster, no scratches, and sharp details can fetch incredible prices at auctions, and it's not just about how the coin looks. Grading organizations like PCGS and NGC examine coins under magnification, checking every detail to determine authenticity and quality. A high-grade 1953 AD penny graded MS 66 or higher, especially with a rare variety like a repunched mint mark, can easily reach thousands of dollars. Some examples in pristine mint state condition have even reached values that most people wouldn't believe. Let's take a moment and imagine, how many people have probably held one of these coins without realizing its true worth? Maybe it passed through a grocery store register, maybe it was dropped on a sidewalk, or maybe it's sitting in a jar in Simeone's attic right now. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's like treasure hunting in your own pocket change. So tell me, have you checked your pennies lately? Maybe you already have a 1953 AD wheat penny and just didn't know it. What makes this coin even more special is that it represents a period of American history when pennies still meant something. In 1953, a penny could actually buy a piece of candy, and kids would save them in jars and paper rolls. The world has changed a lot since then, but the simple design and honest craftsmanship of these coins remind us of a different time, a time when copper had weight, value, and character. The Denver Mint, known for its efficiency, struck these coins with care, but time has turned ordinary 1953 AD pennies into hidden gems. Some may have survived untouched for decades, stored away by collectors or passed down through generations. And when those coins surface today in brilliant uncirculated condition, they become prized possessions. And yes, there is more to it than just rarity, it's about connection. Every coin has a story, and the 1953 AD wheat penny carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the man who preserved the Union and stood for freedom and equality. Holding one of these coins feels like holding a piece of American history, a tangible reminder of resilience and unity. Now, let's talk about the part you've been waiting for, the value. Most 1953 AD wheat pennies in average circulated condition are worth just a few cents, maybe up to $1 if they're in good shape. But for those rare error varieties and near-perfect uncirculated coins, the story changes dramatically. When the luster is bright, the strike is sharp, and the mint mark shows something unusual, the price can skyrocket. In recent years, collectors have paid huge sums for top-quality 1953 AD wheat pennies. A few of the rarest examples with exceptional color, detail, and minting errors have reached astonishing figures, up to $95,000. Yes, you heard that right, $95,000 for a single penny. It's incredible, isn't it? Something so small, something most people overlook every day, could be worth that much. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about discovery. The thrill of finding something rare, the connection to history, the realization that value can hide in plain sight. So, the next time you're sorting through your change or rolling coins for the bank, take a moment and look closely. Check the date, look for that tiny day under the year, and see if anything looks a little unusual. You never know what you might find. And before you go, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from, and do you have this coin? Maybe your next great discovery is sitting right in your hand, because in the world of coins, even the smallest piece of metal can carry a story worth telling, and sometimes, it can carry a price tag that changes everything. Before we dive into the full story, tell me, where are you watching from? I love seeing people from all around the world sharing their love for coins and history in the comments. It's amazing how one little penny can connect collectors and curious minds across so many places. And tell me, have you ever found a wheat penny before? Because after this, you might want to start checking your change more carefully. Let's rewind to the year 1940. The world was on the brink of massive change. World War II was raging overseas, and while the United States hadn't officially entered the conflict yet, the nation was already preparing for what might come. Factories were booming, families were recovering from the Great Depression, and every coin in circulation told a story of hard work and endurance. Amid that backdrop, the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny was minted, quietly, efficiently, and with a design that had already become an American classic. The Lincoln wheat penny, designed by Victor David Brenner, First appeared in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was revolutionary because it was the first USA coin to feature the portrait of a real person rather than an abstract symbol. The obverse side, the front, shows a right-facing image of President Lincoln with the inscriptions "I in God We Trust" across the top, "Liberty" to his left, and the year 1940 to his right. If you look just below the date, you might see a tiny mint mark. No mark means it was made in Philadelphia, a D stands for the Denver Mint, and an S represents the San Francisco Mint. The reverse side features the famous twin wheat stalks arching along each side, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the pluribus unum curving gracefully across the top. That simple wheat design gave the coin its nickname, the wheat penny. Now, you might be thinking, there must have been a lot of these made. And do they be right? In fact, over 800 million 1940 wheat pennies were struck across all three mints combined. That's a huge number. But it is where things get interesting. While most of those coins are common, a few rare varieties and exceptional conditions make certain 1940 Lincoln wheat pennies worth staggering amounts today. During the minting process, mistakes sometimes happened. The machinery was fast, the demand was high, and quality control in the 1940s wasn't as advanced as it is today. These small mistakes, called mint errors, are what turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. One of the most famous errors from the 1940 Lincoln penny series is the double die obverse. This occurs when the coin die, the tool that strikes the design onto the blank planchet, slips slightly during preparation, causing a second impression to be struck slightly off from the first. The result is that parts of the coin, especially the date and lettering, appear doubled. On a genuine double da 1940 penny, you can sometimes see strong doubling on Liberty and "I in God We Trust," and occasionally even in the date 1940. Collectors love these because they're visually striking, you can spot them even without magnification, and they're extremely rare. The doubling gives the coin a distinctive look that sets it apart from the millions of regular issues. Another error that adds value to 1940 pennies is the off-center strike, where the coin wasn't perfectly aligned in the press. Some of these show visible blank areas where the didn't strike, creating a dramatic off-balance appearance. Then there are clipped planchets, where a small curved piece of the coin is missing due to a mistake in the blank cutting process. Each of these errors tells a story about how even the smallest imperfection can create something unique and collectible, but errors aren't the only thing that make 1940 Lincoln wheat pennies valuable. Condition plays a huge role. Most pennies from that era have been through decades of circulation. They've been dropped, wrapped, spent, and saved countless times. The details on Lincoln's hair might be worn down, the wheat stalks faded, and the shine long gone. But the rare ones, the ones that were never spent or perfectly preserved, are what collectors dream about. In an uncirculated condition, known as mint state, these coins can shine with an original copper red luster that looks almost new even after 85 years. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC evaluate these coins under microscopes to check for even the tiniest marks or discoloration. Coins that earn top grades like MSS 65, MSS 66, or higher can command massive prices, especially if they have an error or unique feature. And it's not just about perfection, it's about history. When you hold a 1940 Lincoln wheat penny, you're holding a snapshot of pre-war America. Think about the hands it might have passed through: workers, soldiers, families saving for the future. Each coin carries silent stories from a time when the world was changing fast. Now, let's make it a bit interactive. Where are you watching from? And have you ever found an old penny from before the 1950s? Maybe it's sitting in a jar or a collection somewhere in your house. If you have one, it's worth taking a closer look. That little coin might have something unusual about it, a small detail that changes everything. Another thing that makes the 1940 wheat penny fascinating is its composition. Unlike modern pennies that are mostly zinc with just a copper coating, the 1940 coins were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. That's why older pennies have that rich reddish-brown tone and heavier feel. They're literally made of metal that holds value. Some collectors also pay attention to color grades: red, red-brown, and brown. A coin with its original bright copper color, labeled as red, is far more valuable than one that's darkened over time. A fully red, high-grade 1940 penny can be worth exponentially more than a dull brown one of the same year. Now, it is something fascinating. A few years back, coin collectors reported finding some 1940 Lincoln wheat pennies with unusual die breaks, raised lines or cracks caused by worn dies during minting. These small details are unique to specific coins and can make them stand out as one-of-a-kind errors, adding even more collector appeal. Every coin enthusiast knows that a coin's journey is part of its value. A 1940 penny could have passed through generations, maybe as part of wartime savings, or hidden away by someone who thought, "It's just a penny, but I'll keep it anyway." Little did they know that decades later, that same coin could become a collector's prize, and that brings us to the part you've been waiting for, the value. Most 1940 Lincoln wheat pennies in circulated condition are worth just a few cents, maybe up to $1 if they're clean and readable. But the rare ones, those with doubling errors, unique strikes, or flawless mint state preservation, are a whole different story. When these coins come up for sale, collectors compete fiercely to own them. Some of the finest 1940 Lincoln wheat pennies, certified in top condition with strong color and perfect strikes, have been valued as high as $110,000. Jeez, $110,000 for a single 1-cent coin. It's almost unbelievable that a piece of copper smaller than your thumb could hold that much value, but that's the power of rarity, history, and passion combined. So the next time you come across an old wheat penny, don't just pass it by. Check the date, look for that 1940, and study the details closely. Maybe it's just an ordinary penny, or maybe it's one of those incredible rarities that's been waiting decades for someone to notice. And before you go, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and do you have this coin? Maybe your next big discovery is sitting right there in your pocket or coin jar, because in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest coin can carry a story, and sometimes, it can carry a value that changes everything.